All right, continuing on with airport procedures, we were talking about 163, which is how do you use VORs to triangulate your position. First, tune in and identify nearby VOR station. You may need to climb to pick up the signal. Center the CDI with a from indication. Draw a line on the chart indicating the radial that you are on, and repeat this process for another neighboring VOR. The point where the lines intersect is your position. Number 164. What makes the pre-flight at night different from the pre-flight during the day? The night pre-flight is difficult to perform because you cannot see as well at night. In addition to the normal checks and inspections, your night pre-flight should include a check of all lights and lighting systems. Number 165. What additional equipment should you bring with you on a night flight? It is a good idea to bring 2 flashlights and spare batteries with you on a night flight. How much fuel reserve is required for VFR night flight? The FAR require a VFR fuel reserve of 45 minutes at night. More is better. 167. What color are runway lights? Runway lights are primarily white, though some turn red to indicate a lessening amount of runway remaining. Number 168. What is a spin? A spin is an aggravated stall that results in auto rotation. Number 169. In which situations is a spin likely to occur? Spins can occur in almost any situation. However, the most common situation where spins happen are in the pattern on the turn from base to final and during a go-around. Number 170. What is the difference between a steep spiral and a spin? By definition, an airplane must be stalled to be in a spin, but not so in a steep spiral. Number 171. What is a recommended spin recovery for your airplane? Though every airplane has a slightly different spin recovery procedure, it is usually throttle to idle, neutralize the ailerons, full rudder deflection in the opposite direction of the turn, break the stall with forward elevator pressure, level the wings if necessary, and recover from the descent. Number 172. What is the procedure if you have an engine failure in flight? As soon as you realize an engine failure has occurred, immediately establish the best glide speed for your airplane and trim to hold this speed. Select an emergency landing site, then, time permitting, go through the appropriate forced landing checklist. Number 173. What would happen if the vacuum pump failed in your airplane? Is it considered an emergency situation in VFR conditions? A failed vacuum pump will result in the loss of the attitude indicator and the heading indicator. A vacuum pump failure often goes unnoticed by pilots because the gyros take a long time to wind down. This is not considered an emergency situation in VFR conditions because these instruments are not necessary for safe flight. Number 174. What would happen to the altimeter if the pitot-static system were obstructed? What would happen to the VSI, and what would happen to the airspeed indicator? If the pitot-static system was blocked, the altimeter would indicate the altitude where the system became blocked. The VSI would give no indication in a climb or descent, and the airspeed indicator would read 0. Number 175. What error does the altimeter indicate if you are using an alternate static source? Because alternate static sources are usually located inside the cockpit where the pressure is lower than it is outside the airplane, the altimeter indicates higher than normal. Number 176. What does a low voltage light indicate when it is illuminated? How would you address this situation? A low voltage light indicates that the alternator or generator is not working and the electrical equipment is running from the battery. To effectively deal with the situation, turn off all non-essential electrical equipment, and land as soon as practical. Number 177. What is the procedure if a circuit breaker pops? If a circuit breaker pops and it is resettable, push it back in once. If it pops out again, leave it out and determine the next course of action. Pushing the breaker in more than once may lead to an electrical fire. Number 178. What are some common causes of a rough running engine in flight? Though there are numerous factors that can cause an engine to run rough, the most common causes are carburetor ice, a problematic magneto, or fouled spark plugs. Number 179. What is the necessary action if you lose a magneto in flight? If a magneto is lost in flight, determine the bad magneto by switching from both to either left or right. The bad magneto will be evident when the engine will not run on that particular magneto. After you identify the bad magneto, run on the good one and land as soon as practicable. Number 180. Is using all the fuel from one tank before switching to another a good practice, and why? Using all the fuel from one tank is not a good practice because it may cause vapor lock in the fuel line. The result may be an engine failure without the ability to restart it in flight. 181. What should you do if you notice you are losing oil pressure? A loss of oil pressure should be viewed as an emergency situation. The engine will not continue to run with low pressure. Be prepared for a forced landing and attempt to fly to the nearest airport. Number 182. What are the required inspections for an ELT? An ELT must have been inspected in the preceding 12 calendar months to be legal. Also, the ELT battery must be replaced after 1 hour of cumulative use or after 50% of its useful life. Number 183. Must your airplane be equipped with a working ELT before beginning a flight? Yes. ELTs are always required unless exempt under FAR Part 91.207. An example of where an aircraft is not required to have an ELT is if that aircraft is used for flight instruction within a 50 nautical mile of the home airport. Number 185. How is an ELT activated? An ELT can be activated either manually by flipping the switch on the physical unit or automatically by an impact to the airplane. Number 185. What signal does an ELT emit? ELTs emit a distress signal on 121.5. Number 186. What other survival gear is your airplane equipped with? Some small airplanes are equipped with a fire extinguisher and or life vests. Know what your airplane is equipped with and be able to describe its location and explain how to use it. Number 187. Are you required to have flotation devices for all occupants when flying over water? Only flights that are operated for higher, beyond power off gliding distance from shore are required to have flotation devices for all occupants when flying over water. Thanks for watching and good luck on your oral exam.